Welcome back to our open meeting. Before we get underway, we'd like to acknowledge that this council meeting has been held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. And before we get into the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge some sad news, the passing of former councillor Bob Wedham. So I'll just do a quick little history of involvement with the city. Bob served as a city planner in Fort McMurray, and he ultimately returned to the Cranbrook area where he finished his career as planning director of the regional district of East Kootenay. After retirement, Bob served 2 terms on Cranbrook City Council and several terms on the board and as chair of the Cranbrook Archives Museum and Landmark Society. He was a dedicated member of the Model Railway Group and the History Center. Certainly, Bob will be missed in the community. Anybody that knew Bob, the one in his obituary, it says Bob was a gentle explorer with a kind heart. And you know what? Wow, I couldn't put 5 words more fitting together for an individual. That absolutely nails Bob. Bob passed away in the community forest on a walk with his wife, and if you think about it, you know, he passed in his element, really. So the community will miss Bob Wedham, make no mistake. Bob was a true and honest individual. I was fire chief for 1 term when Bob was on council, and you know, it didn't matter what the issue. Bob always thought about the community interests. That's all he thought about. He was never biased, and just a great representative of the city of Cranbrook. Bob served under as a council member when Councillor Stetsky was Mayor Stetsky, and I don't know, Councillor Stetsky, do you have a couple comments you'd like to make, maybe with respect to Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bob was on council. Bob always came well prepared, thoughtful, had really looked at the issue from every side and was always very fair in terms of how he approached his position on council and his decision making. I was also on the board of the Cranbrook History Center when Bob was the chair. Bob worked really hard to try and make sure that the incredible assets, the train cars that we have at the Cranbrook History Center, were properly looked after. And of course, that started with the first roof over the train cars, and the money is there now to finish that project over the next year. Trains were his passion, whether it was tiny little trains running around in the basement, but he also traveled the world and wrote a book on trains. That was definitely one of the things he liked to do most, was to look at trains. He was also part of the Rocky Mountain Naturalist, which is another group that I sat on, and again, contributed a lot to the club. And of course, his photography, many of us and many of you have seen his photos over the years, particularly from around Elizabeth Lake. So, I mean, Bob was a writer, photographer, traveler, a train buff. And one of the comments that I heard from many people that really resonated with me was that Bob Wedham made a difference. And really, when I look around the table here at my colleagues, I think that's probably one of the highest things, accolades people can give to any of us, is that in the end, we made a difference. And Bob made a difference.
Thanks very much for that, Councillor Stetsky. We'll move into the business for the evening. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, June 23rd, 2025? Mover, Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes of the public hearing of Monday, June 9th, 2025, minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, June 9th, 2025, minutes of the special council meeting of Monday, June 16th, 2025, minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of Monday, June 16th, 2025. Mover, please, Councillor Ray. Councillor Popoff. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. No. Okay, we'll move into delegations. We have one delegation this evening. Colin Sinclair and Jennifer Crotch are here to from Key City Gymnastics regarding the gymnastics multi-use recreation complex. Colin and Jennifer, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Yeah, we just obviously had some discussions and emails and stuff going back, but basically what we're here today is just to really talk to you about our vision opportunity of basically a sustainable net zero multi-use indoor recreation community hub for Cranbrook and area. Basically, we sent through a design, and the design is really what we want to do is try to meet the needs of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities with strong Indigenous, intergenerational, inclusive design principles, and also help identify the aging infrastructure in the East Kootenays. So basically our strategic plan is really to have a centralized facility for Cranbrook and the RDEK, replacing multiple aging venues, strengthen regional equity, support sports tourism, and stimulate economic development, and try to reinforce Cranbrook's future as a recreation destination. So basically some of the data that we've pulled is an event that hosts basically 300 athletes of a family of 4. When you put the data together, brings in $350,000 to the Cranbrook area in just that weekend alone. Our Key City Gymnastics, which I am the board chair and she's the vice chair, when we have our gymnastics Key City meet, we have 500 athletes come to Cranbrook for one weekend. We are currently in our space now that is, I say a lot. Holy cow, I just noticed that. Basically, we've outgrown our space. So we really want to expand the Key City Gymnastics, also offer more facility time for different age groups. We do offer senior fitness as well as youth fitness. We have a competitive stream, and we're looking into getting into parkour. Right now, the place that we have is just not feasible. We are in the midst of just finalizing our feasibility study that should be ready next week. And we're really trying to address not only our needs of the Key City Gymnastics, but also the needs of Cranbrook lacrosse, indoor field and courts. We've had multiple meetings up at the college with other user groups, from volleyball to basketball, volleyball, badminton, track, pickleball. And what we're really trying to do is come together and try to address as many of the needs of the community as we can within this facility. We would, like at first, how this whole process with the survey that went out, it was focused on gymnastics. As we've grown and had more conversations, there are definitely a lot more needs for the community that we're really trying to address, and we really feel Moyer Park would be the best location, and also to build this facility so that it would have the ability to have future expansion. We have, as well, with our facility breakdown that we have attached, address the needs of the Child Care Center, the Gymnastics Center. We're going to have 2 full-size multi-use indoor sports courts. One is a turf that would house lacrosse, soccer, futsal, baseball training, and then 1 tiled. On the plans that we sent through, the 1 tiled could have up to 12 pickleball courts as well as 12 badminton courts, 4 volleyball, 2 basketball. And we're also looking at, like I said, an indoor track, talking with the Cranbrook Track and Field about a 200-meter track that would fit around those pieces. Our financial strategy and operational model, we've already got estimates. We met with Metal Building Systems for $14.5 million would be the capital costs, looking at a 3P model. And yeah, we have also had really great talks with Columbia Basin Trust on the financial pieces. And basically, like I spoke before, we really just want to help support year-round activity, tournaments, local events, also really promote youth engagement, senior health, and lifelong fitness, as well as try to build community cohesion and support reconciliation through inclusive and Indigenous focused programming. We've also actively been targeting local, provincial, federal grants out there, as well as, like I said, we have very strong support from local clubs and regional partners. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add to there.
Just that With the last time that we were here, we were talking specifically about a gymnastics facility because our lease is up in a couple of years here, and we're just busting at the seams. We just don't have enough room. And as a nonprofit, we're paying a lot of money for a facility that's quite small. And when you look at the opportunity for paying the same amount of rent that we're paying for a facility that's much larger, that meets more needs for all of the additional programming from, junior gym, 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, all the way up to 90-year-olds. The opportunity is there for us to just kind of expand. And so when we started having these original conversations, the partnership with lacrosse just became fairly easy to do. They were very much interested, and they have, just like us, they have money and interest in kind of finding a central location. And so it's still early in the works, but we're talking about creating a partnership where it's a bit of a business model where it's not our group running the facility, it's not their group running the facility, but there's an actual business entity running the facility that's responsible for ensuring that it's operating effectively and properly, and we can focus on gymnastics and they can focus on lacrosse.
Fantastic. So I'm pretty sure that members of council have got some comments or questions. Maybe we'll just start with Councillor Stetsky and go around the table.
Thank you, and thank you. Very exciting concept. So how much land in total when you add all these together? And optimistically, when do you think things might be in place to actually start work on the project, assuming you can come up with land?
So yeah, right now the facility in front of you is 80,000 square feet. I'm not sure on my conversion what that is.
So that's just basically the 400 by 220, and then that doesn't include the daycare facility that's its own entity, but sharing a wall. But the idea would be that if we were to build this, again, this is conceptual. I'm not an architect. But the idea would be that continual expansion of the facility, like land available to allow you to build off of the infrastructure that's already there. So.
And then back to your second point, our lease is up December of 2027. So our timeline would be to hopefully get an AOK for land use by this fall, with conceptual drawings, construction going out for spring of 2026. So it'll take about a year to build the facility.
You're looking at it then from what you just said as a phased approach, where phase one is the gymnastics center, lacrosse, basketball, and
No, that we would do this all. This would be like, I guess, phase one if there was.
It's not the future with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and what about pickleball and volleyball? Is that
That would be phase one. Yeah.
phase one as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to clarify this little drawing, but so the bottom two green squares that show the basketball courts, it's the lines are painted for pickleball and the lines are painted for volleyball as well on the same section. So it's not like there's these individualized ones. That's where the economies of scale and the opportunity to really pack everything into one space. You have one set of gyms that you can have multiple sports utilize.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Almost said your worship. Sorry, Colin, you mentioned like a public-private partnership. How, like looking at this, how do you see the city being involved? Are you just looking for us to help out with the land and the location?
Yeah.
Or do you want the city to be involved in the management of the facility too?
No, just land. Yeah. Yeah. Very similar to the soccer dome. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Brissette.
Thank you. So do you have you scoped out a site that you're, hoping for?
Well, Moyer Park would be ideal
Moyer.
based off the the size of this facility and the ability to, as the city grows, to build it in a way that could be added on and for future use. Say racquetball came or someone else came to the table with idea money that they could expand off and be readily expandable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But just for clarity, we're not talking about taking away any existing facilities that are happening at Moyer Park, adjacent to Moyer Park.
Sure.
Just,
And then have you seen this model in other cities?
Yeah, so we've done, that'll be part of our feasibility, which we could share with you. Again, just wasn't quite ready here for tonight. But through La Crosse and some of our connections, we've talked with multiple municipalities throughout North America that have this model where, for example, they run pickleball leagues and different things to help with offset the cost of the facility. And that's the model that we're kind of going after. Yeah.
Councillor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. So in terms of land, so like Key says, a lease of occupation. So for your project, is that what you're looking at as well, would be a request for a lease of occupation?
Correct, yeah.
Very good. And so you're thinking you'll have your full package together and then come back this fall with a request for a lease of occupation? Is that kind of what you're aiming for?
If that works for you, go ahead.
or potentially, so have the full package together and provided to the city and potentially have approval quicker so that we can get the funding pots quicker. Like the quicker, like the deadline of December 2027 is hard and fast. So
Yep.
Yeah, we'd get it to you as soon as possible. I'm not sure your guys'
Okay.
summer schedule, but we're
Yeah.
hoping to have it done by next week. So to get it to you.
Awesome. And just in terms of gymnastics, there's been some conversation in the community about, who benefits from gymnastics. So just to clarify, maybe you could tell us a little bit about like the school use of the gymnastics facility in terms of schools booking and bringing their classes.
Sure, I'll let Jen speak to that, but I do know like we are the biggest user group in Cranbrook in terms of we have programming from 0 or 2 years old right to we have a senior active fit, so right up to 80, 90 years old. So we do have programming all the way through. We do, well, I'll let you speak. You're the
you're
expert.
doing
Yeah.
fantastic.
And the idea is that we want to expand off for parkour, different, we have just started boys gymnastics, so that's really taken off. So we're really trying to expand that and offer as many services and try to get as active movement as possible with youth, elderly, and everyone. In terms of the school piece, we do host birthday parties, different school days with an SD5 that go there and use it. And the idea would be in the downtime when that administrative body would try to reach out and book those spaces so that we could offer as many programming entities as we could.
We also had a partnership for some time with the Society for Community Living, but the issue that we've run into is that it's just not safe with the mats and the floor and the uneven floors at this time because it's just too small. We don't have space.
Councillor Popoff?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Colin, Jennifer, exciting. We've talked about this already. I think you're looking at the Moyer Park north of the soccer fields. That's the location you're looking at. And we already know that there's a dedicated road access into there. We have to deal with utilities and stuff, but that's the piece of property in question. I had the opportunity to attend one of the first user group sessions that was up at the college, and I was impressed on a number of fronts. There was a dozen or so different indoor sports entities, and the collaboration going on with it being there was quite a synergy in that room. And I thought, being the city rep, I was going to get roasted in there, but the city needs to do all these things. But no, as you said, we don't need the city. We don't want the city. We just want the land so we can build the property. So. Well, you want the city, but not in that way, right? So I was encouraged about that. Also, the talk in the room was we'll host tournaments. We'll bring in out-of-town tournaments, and especially in the off seasons, the shoulder seasons, when our hospitality industries need the restaurant goers, the hotel goers, all those other things. So, tens of millions of dollars or more a year if this thing gets going with all the different stakeholders. So gymnastics and lacrosse would be the two equity stakeholders?
Yeah, Yeah,
And
the
then,
two main entities for sure, yeah.
and then the others would just be.
Well, we're preliminary discussions, I guess we'd be, because we are the two biggest leaseholders, I guess, of the space that we would look at to enter into agreements with basketball.
Yes.
Them, that we're just in those early stages of those discussions with them. Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome, and you're taking your own independent way of going forward and how the city can help, let us know, but I think we're going in the right direction, so very encouraging. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
The only thing that I do want to clarify is that if there's an issue with that north side of Moyer, like we're fine with the south side of Moyer too. Like
We'll go anywhere.
we'll go anywhere.
Great. You mentioned earlier, I didn't note it, your current lease is up when?
December of 2027.
27?
2.5 years.
Okay, yeah, so certainly, this project, I think, is timely, and I think anybody that's paying attention to what's going on in Cranbrook, Cranbrook's ready for it. Cranbrook's ready for it, but the city of Cranbrook isn't ready for it, for sure. I mean, if anybody that follows our budget process and, it's a time where you're trying to keep costs down, this model fits really well. The city of Cranbrook's not in a position, and I think members of council would agree with me, for at least 10 to 15 years for us to start financing major facilities. These are major facilities, and oftentimes too, we see, we'll expand on our facilities, but one thing that people forget, that there's maintenance that goes along with that. So that's more staff and more wages, et cetera. And of course the upkeep that goes with it. So certainly in this type of arrangement, I would say that you're a partner to an extent with the city. If you're looking for an occupation, a lease of occupation. Grant conditions, probably you're going to have some kind of a land assurance, I guess, when you're committing. So probably on our end, time is sort of of the essence to an extent. What are you looking by this summer? You need a commitment, or is there a date you would like to see a response from council and the approvals from a council if we move forward?
Tonight, is that good? No. Yeah, obviously as soon as possible, but ideally would be to have everything to go by September.
September?
Sure, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Yeah, again, I think it's time. Certainly, again, it's basically turnkey as far as the city's concerned. It's out of our hands. Any costs associated with something like that, and the value it brings to the community is incredible. So, we're looking at, we have some youth issues in town here and there, and boy, this is directed right for youth, and it's exactly what we need. So I certainly support it. Anything further, council? Thanks, guys. Great presentation. Look forward to the next report coming in, and Mark will be getting back to you.
Awesome. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, guys. Moving into bylaws. First bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering and Development Services regarding unsightly premises bylaw number 4206/2025. This bylaw is back tonight for adoption. Can I get a motion that council adopt unsightly premises bylaw number 4206/2025? Mover, please, Councillor Stetson, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is also from Engineering Development Services regarding public places bylaw number 4207/2025. This bylaw is also back for adoption tonight. Can I get a motion that council adopt public places bylaw number 4207/2025? Mover, please, Councillor Popoff, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. Nobody? A quick question, just on enforcement. This is a significant change from what we currently have. I think it's great. It's going to give us a lot more control. So, in place to help us deal with some of the common issues that we're hearing the community complain about. I guess enforcement, the RCMP are obviously designated to uphold this bylaw, as well as our bylaw enforcement staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Bylaw have authority over city
Yeah.
bylaws, or sorry, RCMP have authority
Yeah.
over city bylaws.
So I guess, and I guess I wonder to what extent, because typically a lot of our bylaws are upon complaint. I just don't want people's expectations to be out there thinking that we're going to have bylaw staff out there looking for all this stuff, because it's pretty prevalent in the community. Is the primary direction going to be upon complaint to our staff?
Mayor Price, so that is correct. The intent here is that these sort of like, I'll just use lower level nuisance events are what, in today's world, the RCMP are overburdened with much higher end things. And, you know, we're having struggles having the staff attend some of the higher end crimes. So these lower level things are really low on the priority list. By adding them into a bylaw, it allows our bylaw staff to assist in some of these things that would normally be rest with the RCMP, because they're simply not able to pick it up. And this is part of that movement we're making towards community policing. So we're just going to keep building on that. But again, with this, with the bylaw officers are limited in what they can and can't do, and if RCMP assistance is required, that'll have to be dealt with at the time. So it's just allowing our bylaw staff to do something they wouldn't normally do before, because the RCMP are simply not getting to some of this stuff.
Good. Yeah, I appreciate that. And then my question really was just so that there's clarity out there what the expectations will be of our staff. Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up. So the mechanism would be by public complaint. So dialing 311, would that be the route, or is there other options for public complaint?
For the city, that's typically, like, if it's of a higher need, then that's what 911 is for. This is for, you know, again, this is a very low level
Sure. Okay.
kind of incident.
So
311, that is the preferred route, because it creates a written record that we can recall later, and it goes through the bylaw directly.
So having read the bylaw, a lot of these offenses are happening right at the moment. By the time 311 is called and maybe some staff or whatever deployed, it's all over and done with. So how do we square that off if it's going to be after the fact responding to a complaint that's no longer there with the culprits?
And some of these, Councillor Popoff, through the mayor, some of these things are sort of reoccurring events. And so bylaw can generate some forms of prevention as well. So recording, just like we talk about with the RCMP, ensuring that every event that is of concern is documented to the RCMP allows them to generate the stats, to generate the support programs. It's the same with bylaw. We don't operate on a dispatch service for something that small.
And in the world of these nowadays, 311 is called and the complainant is holding taking a photo of something happening in the time. That could be a little scary and dangerous for those people as well, but just a comment.
Thanks very much, Mark. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is also from Engineering Development Services regarding downtown revitalization tax exemption bylaw number 4208, 2025. This bylaw is back to council tonight for adoption as well. Can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook downtown revitalization tax exemption bylaw number 4208, 2025? Mover, Councillor Ray, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. Councillor Popoff.
I'm all in favor. My question though is what if, Rob, what if we have a development that's starting just on the other side of the line? Is there some wiggle room at all to blur the line a little bit and consider those just on the other side?
Rob, you're going to respond to that?
Sure.
Sorry.
To Councillor Popoff and Council through the mayor. So right now, officially, the bylaw, if adopted, would take effect this evening. So anybody who, I suppose, potentially has a current active building permit application could in theory apply, because in order to qualify for an exemption application to be considered, the project has to be complete. So anything that's been completed prior to date won't make it, obviously, but I think anything, it's a matter of process and procedure, and there's no definitive mechanism for it, but at the staff level, we discussed it, and given that the bylaw takes effect today, if a project is in process and they complete it after today, let's say they get a final occupancy, then they'd be able to have consideration, provided the application is received before August 1st in order to qualify for next year. Otherwise, they would have to apply, and then it would be considered for the following year. The trick with anything currently in stream right now is whether or not it would be picked up by BC Assessment when they're doing their revised assessed roll for the property. And I'm not sure what date that happens, but if it was to occur in the lag time, then the potential improvements being made to the property might not be captured through BC Assessment, thereby reducing their potential for higher exemption.
My question was more intended for development that was occurring just on the other side of the line of the zone. So here's the zone, it's all shaded in. What if you were in development just on the other side?
I thought you meant figurative line as in timelines. No, there's no wiggle room.
There's no wiggle room?
No, it's
No
based on,
wiggle room
the
whatsoever?
bylaw is established by the boundary, and because it's a bylaw, it would need to be amended. The bylaw would
Go
have to
through
be
the whole
amended to change the
process.
map. Yeah,
Thank you.
it could be done, but it, yeah.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next bylaw consideration is also from Engineering Development Services regarding Victoria Avenue Corridor Revitalization Tax Exemption Bylaw number 4209, 2025. This bylaw is back tonight for adoption as well. Can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook Victoria Avenue Corridor Revitalization Tax Exemption Bylaw number 4209, 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Peabody, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. So on the Victoria, it only applies for new development, $1 million or more, whereas downtown, it also applied to renovations of 50,000 or more, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Correct.
So why was the renovation part left off of the bylaw, just out of interest?
Through the mayor to council. So the downtown area was specifically crafted with respect to trying to encourage downtown revitalization on a number of different facets, being building improvements to generate aesthetics, things that were supported by the downtown revitalization master plan. So we're trying to capture the various mechanisms by which we want to encourage revitalization in downtown and create the goals that we're trying to achieve with respect to aesthetics, new development, increase in housing and such. Whereas through the Victoria corridor, as it was identified in the OCP, the Victoria corridor was identified as an area where we want to target specifically high density and or mixed use high density development. And so the difference is the target that we're trying to achieve. And by allowing it to expanding it to any renovation, it wouldn't necessarily result in the goal we're trying to achieve unless the renovation did include a conversion of a building to allow for the minimum 5 units. So in theory, I suppose if a building were to be renovated, take a commercial building and it'd be gutted to convert it to a mixed use multi-unit, and it was $1 million or more, than they would qualify. But it would, because that would be like a new development rather than just any one of the commercial businesses doing a facelift. Whereas in the downtown, it was a priority to encourage those activities versus trying to encourage strictly the housing and mixed use in the Victoria corridor.
Thank you very much, Rob. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Final bylaw for consideration tonight is from also from Engineering and Development Services regarding 12th Avenue South Road closure and disposition bylaw number 4122, 2025. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of this report? Curtis?
Thank you, Mayor Price and Council. The city's been approached by the owner of 1112 13th Street South in regards to selling a portion of 12th Avenue South. The property owners, carport, pool deck, and fence, there's a section of fenced area that are currently road dedication. The road dedication in this area is oddly wide for the city of Cranbrook, and a road classification of that nature, not being a major road in the city, classification. So we're bringing forward a bylaw this evening to look at selling the small portion of road dedication for $10,000 plus administration fees, legal fees, appraisal fees, a small sliver of road dedication to get the corner cut off for the intersection. And then that this road dedication be, when it's closed, consolidated to the house, the property in question, if council wishes to move forward.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to 12th Avenue South Road Closure and Disposition Bylaw number 4122, 2025? Councillor Ray, Councillor Peabody, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to the 12th Avenue South Road Closure and Disposition Bylaw number 4122, 2025? Councillor Popoff, Councillor Bissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to 12th Avenue South Road Closure and Disposition Bylaw number 4122, 2025, and further direct staff to advertise council's intention to close a portion of 12th Avenue South adjacent to 1112 13th Street South in exchange for $10,000 plus administration fees, legal fees, appraisal fees, 10.6 square meters of road dedication and consolidation to 1112 13th Street South as per section 94 of the community charter, and submit a public hearing scheduled for 6 o'clock on July 14th, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving into new business. First item of new business tonight from Corporate Services and Finance in regarding BC Transit's conventional custom transit systems 2025-2026 annual operating agreement. Can I have staff? Is it Tina going to give us an overview of this? What was yours, Tina?
Both Charlene and I are going to
Charlene as well.
attempt this report on behalf of Charlotte. So this is for the annual operating agreement that comes to council each year and covers the conventional and custom transit services. A few of the activities to highlight in the transit portfolio is the Transit Future Service Plan. This initiative is being led by BC Transit and is well underway. The first round of public engagement occurred between November 12th and December 12th, 2024. The message was that we were looking to optimize the system by way of reducing, maintaining, or growing the transit system using the existing resources, as well as obtaining the level of interest for a digital on-demand model. The next item is in June of 2024, BC Transit rolled out UMO, which was a new fare collection system. This enabled users to be able to pay for their fare using a mobile app or a reloadable card. Phase 2 of this initiative is to provide the ability for riders to be able to tap their debit or credit cards on the bus. This is expected to roll out later this year. And finally, the revenue development team at BC Transit is preparing to conduct a fare review. The last review was done in 2013 and the rates have been unchanged since then. The focus of this review will be to balance the cost recovery with affordability and ridership retention. It is expected to commence in August 2025. And I'll let Charlene take over from here.
Thanks, Tina. I get to talk about the budget portion. So, as you know, while the city collects transit fare revenue, funding the city's share of costs relies heavily on municipal taxes. Per Cranbrook's 5-year plan, $1,260,000 in general municipal taxes is needed to fund the two systems in 2025. The provincial government funds 46.7% of Cranbrook's conventional system operating costs and 66.7% of the custom system operating costs. Debt servicing costs for vehicles, buildings, and equipment are 100% funded by the city. In 2024, the province contributed $1,188,702 to support transit services in Cranbrook. Over the remainder of the current 5-year financial plan, tax revenue is expected to support the services at the following levels. In 2026, $1,345,000, 2027, $1,445,000, 2028, 1,525,000. 2029, 1,580,000. So in 2024, actual revenue exceeded the budget by 46,000, about 19%. 2024 revenue was 99,477, lower than in 2023. The decrease was due to the artificially high 2023 revenue, due to some 2022 UPass revenue being received in 2023. Transit revenue is reviewed and where necessary adjusted annually during the budget process, taking into consideration prior year actual results and any new initiatives expected to impact revenue. So expenses, 2025 expenses are budgeted to be 11.56 higher than the 2024 actuals. Maintenance costs continue to represent a significant share of the increase. 2026 through 2029 budget expenses increase on average of 5% per year. 2025-2029 five-year financial plan assumes no expansion in services.
Thank you, Charlene and Tina. Can I get a motion that council approve the 2025-2026 annual operating agreement for the Cranbrook Conventional and Custom Transit Systems, and further that council authorize the mayor and the CEO to sign the necessary documents? Councillor Bissett, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Statsky.
Yeah, thank you. So this amount of money is already accounted for in our upcoming budget and our tax increase.
That's correct, yes.
That's correct. The Transit Future Service Plan, which says is coming to council shortly. Any chance that that might find cost savings, do you think? Or is it mostly about scheduling and those kinds of things?
Right now, it's mostly looking at the services that we're provided, or the amount of hours that we're providing right now, and looking at different ways to optimize the service versus doing cuts. But when it does come, it'll be coming to the September Committee of the Whole, and if council wants to direct the BC Transit to look at cuts at that time, then we can go back to the drawing board and put those in.
Further, Councillor Popov.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I see on page 2, the ridership for January 2025 to April 2025. Conventional system at 6% above transit's forecasts. I don't know if that means above 6% above previous ridership, but at least above their forecast. But then the disturbing one is the custom system, 31% below BC Transit's forecast. Does that mean that the actual ridership is dropped by 31%, or the other part that transit has a forecast independent of the actual ridership? How do we square that?
I don't have a complete answer for you, but I do know that Charlotte did ask this question of transit about the custom and NextGen. The previous operator has transitioned over to a new operator called PW Transit, and during that transition there were some issues with people being able to call and book the service, and so that's been fixed, and there was a drop in ridership at that time, but it has since been resolved, and they're operating as usual, and it's still a really well served service.
Thank you.
I got Councillor Peabody and Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Tina, I know the city has done, I believe, 2 transit studies. One was received in 2024. Is that information being contributed to the Transit Future Service Plan? Is that being, I guess, are the studies that the city done, are they being utilized?
Yes, so that for the rural transit study, that report has been shared with this initiative, and those results are part of the data that they're using to create this plan.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, does the Transit Future Service Plan, will it touch on opportunities for marketing or perhaps successful strategies from other communities in terms of increasing ridership?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. And I think one thing that this council can think about is when we're looking at increasing ridership, we play an important role in that in our multifamily development. Because you certainly see like route number 3 that goes by the development on Innes Avenue. That ridership has really increased. Just even visually, I see that. And so as some of our other developments proceed, that could also have a positive impact on transit. As well, we have an aging population, and it's good to use the public transit system. It's convenient. I mean, yes, it's once every hour. I mean, you know, we're not a big enough city to have more, like every 10 minutes, like it runs in Vancouver. But it's still an important service in this community. And yeah, and I think we can do our part in helping to encourage use. So.
Thank you. Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tina. Charlotte. Next item, new business is from Finance regarding the 2024 annual report and statement of financial information. Charlene's going to give us an overview of this report.
Okay, so this year we combined the annual report and the software report into one report to make it nice and consent. So for the 2024 annual report, first of all, I would like to thank Corporate Services Chris Settle and Jodine, and I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name, for preparing pulling it all together. So under Section 99 of the Community Charter, Council must before June 30th consider the annual report as well as submissions and questions from the public in an open meeting. The annual report contains information regarding municipal operations and services, measures of progress of prior year's objectives, highlights future priorities, and provides relevant financial information, which includes the 2024 audited financial statements. The 2024 annual report was made available for the public review starting on June 5th, 2025. And the public was invited to submit comments or ask questions prior to June 20th. The annual report webpage has been viewed 62 times and has been downloaded from the webpage 4 times. One hard copy was picked up from the City Hall. At the time of writing this report, there have been no submissions or questions from the public. And then for the SOFIs, the Statement of Financial Information, SOFI report, is a regulatory requirement for all British Columbia municipalities to be submitted by June 30th each year to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. The 2024 SOFI report contains unaudited schedules showing remuneration paid to mayor and council, a list of municipal employees and their positions whose total remuneration exceeds $75,000, a list of suppliers of goods and services to which the city paid a total of more than $25,000, and schedules related to debt, severance payments, and guarantee agreements. The schedules are prepared by the provincial government has outlined in the Financial Information Act regulations and must be approved by council and the director of finance prior to submission to the province.
Thank you, Charlene. Can I get a motion that council receives for information the City of Cranbrook 2024 annual report is presented? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
I just want to thank and congratulate staff. I thought the annual report was really well done.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council receive and approve the unaudited 2024 statement of financial information produced in accordance with the Financial Information Act, and further that mayor and director of finance be authorized to execute the statement of financial information approval? Mover, please. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Great job, guys. Moving into administrative updates. We have one administrative update tonight from the Cranbrook Public Library, we have Ursula on hand to speak to the 2025 library update to council. Welcome, Ursula.
Thank you so much. So the Cranbrook Public Library offers a wide range of literacy-based programs and services to the residents of Cranbrook and RDK Area C. And so in addition to lending tens of thousands of items, welcoming over 40,000 visitors through our doors, engaging with 750,000 users via our social media presence, answering thousands of questions, drawing almost 4,000 participants to over 370 programs, and providing almost 10,000 users with access to computers and the internet so far this year. I just wanted to update Mayor and Council today on 2 key events that have had significant impacts at the library so far this year. So first off, of course, are the service reductions that we brought into effect on the 1st of May. And due to the cumulative impact of increases in funding not keeping pace with rising costs of operations, particularly since 2021, the library had to reduce its service levels at the beginning of May. Library staff and board worked together to look at all aspects of operations to identify ways to reduce costs and increase revenue within the constraints that govern all public libraries in BC. The focus was to minimize the negative impact on library users and our ability to continue to serve as an officially designated community warming, cooling, and clean air center as much as possible. So ultimately what we did was that the library had to reduce its hours of service by 15% from being open to the public 61 hours per week to 52 hours per week, and cutting the equivalent of a 0.8 full-time equivalency employee from the library's core staffing levels. By doing this, the library did manage to maintain 7-day openings by staying open on Sunday afternoons, and by reducing from 4 evenings a week to being open 2 evenings a week, we were able to live within our budget, basically. So the impact that this has had, the number of people visiting the library in May this year decreased by approximately 11% compared to May 2024, while the number of physical items borrowed dropped by only 1%. This indicates that the people most impacted by the reductions are those who come to the library to work, study, and to get out of the elements or to meet others. But despite these reductions, library staff remain committed to providing the best library service possible to our community, and to remain to be a place where everybody feels safe and welcomed. On the flip side of this, of course, is the fact that 2025 is our 100th anniversary at the library. And so planning for this started last year. Throughout 2024, the 100th anniversary working group, which included Charlene Courtney and Darren Brewer, created a plan to celebrate this milestone. And even at that time, we knew that whatever we were going to do, we were going to do it on the cheap. And we have been able to do that. And so activities were planned to run from January through December, with everything coming into focus on July 4th, which is the exact date that the library first opened its doors in 1925. During that day, there will be a variety of activities for the public to enjoy. And then the official anniversary receptions will start at the end of the day, when the past and present library staff and board members, plus representatives from the Friends of the Library, the city, the RDEK, and the MLA will come together for the unveiling of our centenary artwork and commemorative book. And at that point, we will also make available a limited range of commemorative souvenirs, including very exciting things like themed socks and water bottles, which will be available for sale. The support and goodwill of the community has been overwhelming. The community art exhibit organized by the Cranbrook and District Arts Council in February kicked things off. And of course, the Spirit of the Rockies theme, despite the rain, that was too bad, was 100 years of story in celebration of the library's 100th anniversary. And of course, the businesses got behind that with their wonderful display windows. And then there's also a number of businesses that have offered library and book themed products or activities, to name just a few. The Friends of the Library held the Spirit of the Rockies Festival kickoff barbecue last Thursday, and it ended up being their busiest ever with 475 burgers served.
Oh.
And officially the barbecue started at 11:30. The people were already lining up at 11 a.m. So it was pretty incredible. And the Friends of the Library are also the ones who created the float that we entered in the parade. And that float ended up winning second place, darn it, as a top community float in our event, in the festival. And really, the Friends of the Library have been integral to making the 100th anniversary a success. Their donations are what have enabled us to get themed T-shirts, to commission the artwork, to purchase those souvenirs that I mentioned. And those, like I said, will all be on sale starting on July 4th. Also, launching on that day, and this is very exciting, are the limited edition gold library cards. So we had 750 of these created. And so of course, it's a library card. So any new member will get one when they register at the library and get their first library card ever. So they're really lucky. Current members already have their library card, but if those existing cards are damaged or they've been lost or something, then current members can replace that old card with the gold card, and that's the regular replacement fee of $3 per card for the card. So throughout the year in the library, the centenary is being marked with a year-long reading challenge. We've got book displays that are going by decades. So January was the 1920s and so on throughout the year. We're taking a break in the summer because, of course, it's our summer reading club. So for July and August, it's going to be all summer reading club all the time. And this year actually also marks the 10th anniversary of our adult summer reading club. So this is that summer reading club that all of us adults wished we had had when we were, it's like, why do kids get a summer reading club and not us? Well, we've got a summer reading club for the grown-ups too. And I have seen the prizes coming in and they're going to be amazing. So sign up for that if you're so inclined. And by the way, city council reports do count as reading, so. And so we'll have another number of activities happening throughout the rest of the year as well, celebrating our 100th anniversary. But finally, our last big thing that's been happening throughout the year is that people from around the world have generously sent us congratulatory videos for our 100th anniversary. And one of these, which is by the Indigenous children's author Richard Van Camp, I would like to show you now, if that is possible.
Hello, Cranbrook Public Library. Good evening from Yellowknife, Denendeh. It's Richard Van Camp. I just want to say happy birthday. You're 100 years old. Think of all the families that you helped raise. Think of all the inspiration, all the comfort you've been able to bring to your patrons all these years. You've helped raise so many families. You've helped strengthen so many lives. You've inspired everyone who's walked through your doors. Mussy Cho, Cranbrook Public Library. I've been to Cranbrook. I think you live in paradise. It's just as beautiful as Yellowknife, and that's saying something. So all the best to you and to your families, Mussy Cho, to your team, your staff, your funders, your volunteers, everybody who makes the magic work over there. Happy birthday. I look forward to returning to Cranbrook soon. I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to have tea with you. I'd love to get on over there and return, make everybody laugh. Okay, gotta go. Bye. I'm getting blown sideways in Yellowknife. Okay, Muzzy Joe. Bye. Hello.
So yeah, it's been an interesting year so far. We've had our lows and we're definitely having our highs as well. But what remains throughout it all is the fact that the library is here for everybody, and we are thrilled that we're still able to be opening our doors 7 days a week. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Councillor Teske.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the great job that you continue to do. In the fall, we're going to be meeting with some cabinet ministers at UBCM, and one of the ministers we hope to meet with has responsibility for libraries. So when was the last time the provincial government increased their grant to libraries in BC?
Through the mayor to council. So I believe the last time that funding to libraries was actually increased would have been around 2007 or 8, because what happened back in 2009 with the financial crisis that happened, the worldwide crisis that happened at that time, the provincial funding for public libraries was actually reduced by 25% from 19 million to 14 million, and their grant has remained frozen at that $14 million ever since. So
definitely worth a conversation
definitely,
in the fall.
yes.
The other part, I'm of course on the council rep to the library board and also on the finance committee. And I'll finish on something positive, but looking ahead, if things don't change, the finance committee has suggested we're looking at further reduction at the library in terms of hours of operation, just to stay where things are at. So I guess as a council, we'll deal with that later on when a request for funding comes forward. But I know looking ahead, unless something changes, there will be further reductions at the library. There's no other way to proceed, really, unfortunately. And Mike Selby and the group have done an amazing job on celebrating the 100th anniversary. Of course, Mike has put together a book on the history of the library. He hopes it's going to be published in time for July 4th. But the volunteers and the people that make the library work have done an amazing job. So please do pass on the thanks from council for the great work that's gone on and for the wonderful 100-year celebration coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Teske. Further, just a comment, Ursula. You know, I sat on the board for a couple terms as well, and you know, one thing that was really clear to me was that there's an awful lot of libraries in the province of British Columbia that contact the Cranbrook Library, and when they've got problems or they need solutions, that you know, you're highly respected and recognized right around the province. And I think more importantly is the passion that I see over at the library. Their staff, you know, it's not just public service. They're extremely passionate, and you know, I see that the passion from yourself, your staff, board members, and right through. I mean, holy man, them friends of the library, they're beyond passionate. It's crazy. So, tone from the top. You know, thank you so much, Ursula, for your leadership. We'll move into correspondence. We have 3 items of correspondence tonight. We would like to discuss it or make a motion if you'd like to on any of the items of the correspondence received. So first off, we have correspondence from Crown Pacific, the Wildstone Lot 4, received for information. Good on that one? Okay, thank you. Secondly, we have Spirit of the Rockies soccer tournament field fees, the waiver there. Now, and there's another one, the next one as well is from Spirit of the Rockies on fee waivers. It came in a little bit late. Something happened there that we got it late, but that's happened before in the past. And you know what, retroactively, we've looked at them and approved them. So if you would, I can read a resolution out and we can either on the two. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. My suggestion for both of those letters would be to receive them and refer them to staff, just because I think we would need some additional information regarding the amounts and those kinds of things. So my preference, I think this might be a bit more operational, would be to receive and refer to staff. That would be my suggestion.
Council? Mark, do you want to comment on that and just the logistics of that?
I would request that is appropriate, and staff can come back to council with some advice on that.
Okay, appreciate that. Everybody fine? Perfect. So that takes care of those two. And finally, that brings us to Mayor and Councillor reports and inquiries. Let's start with Councillor Popoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'll start with the negative and work on the positive. I'm sure with most of you were getting phone calls and emails from residents that are still very in awe and disappointed with all the lines being painted on the roads in front of the 2 blocks from Baker all the way to 4th Street North. And what the residents are telling me is they're just saying it just doesn't make sense, and it's a safety hazard. Someone's going to not understand how all this stuff works because there's only 2 blocks of it. Something's going to happen. So I'm worried about that. Not that I think we're going to get rid of them at this point, but can we at least make some of those bicycle paths start and finish somewhere outside of that 2-block area so it actually makes more sense, and maybe the drivers and the bicyclists and everyone else will be more familiar and be more embracing of these bicycle lanes and everything else that's in there. Right now, and I agree with these people, it still doesn't make sense for 2 blocks to have all these lines and parking and diagonals. And but if it was a longer piece, incorporating more bicycle lanes throughout our areas and then ended somewhere, i.e. rotary ways or something, then I think there'd be a little more easier for us to justify why it's not just 2 blocks, but a broader range of bicycle paths that actually connect somewhere. So that would be my request on the negative side, the complaints we're getting.
Just is that before we move on to the next, I think Councillor Blissett has a comment on your first.
Thanks.
So I've ridden some of those, and they're actually, it increases your feeling of safety because they are well marked. And I mean, bicycle routes increase over time. It's bicycling through downtown Cranbrook is pretty good. I mean, you have to watch always for cars, but that's how it goes. And I haven't received any complaints about this. You have access to some people who are complaining. There was certainly an adjustment to the parking on 14th Avenue, but I think people have done that. We have some other problems in town. And I'll tell you that intersection at 7th and 2nd, so over there, is challenging. It is hard for people, like for cars driving there. It is difficult for cyclists, and people are going quite quickly at that point. That is an intersection I'm worried about, and I guess maybe it's just because I use it all the time, but I try to avoid it. So I don't know if we can do something like that's a whole issue in itself on how that should be managed. But as far as biking goes, I'm not worried. I do that, and I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about that intersection at 7th. Okay. And I think that's what we need to focus on truly.
Thank you. So thank you for that. Just further on that, and I think more ridership lanes that connect those 2 blocks to broader to encourage more cycling and safe cycling. And the complaint, and I'm not the only one, I know other members of council are also getting these complaints, it's the drivers that don't understand it. All of a sudden they get there and they see all these lines all over the place, and now they're panicking, okay, what's going on, what's happening around me? So if there's more connectivity of more pathways, before and after that make, I think that the drivers would have a little more sense of awareness of what's going on. So it's not get rid of what's there. Can we build on some more path lanes to incorporate a broader network there going forward? So that was my comment about complaints I'm receiving. I know other council receiving it also. Like most of you, we attended the 2025 Youth Ambassador Showcase. A very emotional time. I think our young ladies are extremely talented. That was definitely demonstrated on Friday night. And I just didn't want it to end. It went on for 3 hours, I think, the whole thing, but it was just so engaging from everyone that was witnessing these very talented ladies. So congratulations to our ambassador and vice ambassador and to all the young ladies that participated in that. And then, of course, Saturday morning, we're all standing in the rain with our umbrellas waiting for yet another Spirit of the Rocky rain out to occur. Last year, it started raining just after the parade, but this year we got the full appreciation of Mother Nature. There were some really spirited residents that came out for the Spirit of the Rockies. Councillor Blissett was there with your grandchildren, and the rest of us were in one way or another participating in the parade. And those diehards that did come out, you could tell they were there and they felt the spirit of the Rockies when they were appreciating the parade. A number of us walked behind the Spirit of the Rockies Youth Ambassadors floats. They must have wondered, who's those three old guys and a younger guy, Councillor Peabody, with umbrellas walking at the very end. But it was an enjoyable parade and enjoyable Spirit of the Rockies, even though. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just going to go back a couple weeks. So June 13th to the 15th, KISA had a big soccer tournament up at Moyer Park. And there were kids up at Kimberly Fields as well. So hundreds of kids playing soccer, lots of families in town. It was an excellent event. So big thank you to KISA and all the volunteers involved in that event. The weather for that weekend was perfect. It was sunny and hot. So anyways, unfortunately, we had the liquid sunshine for Spirit of the Rockies. National Indigenous Peoples Day, we had an event on June 18th, and I'm sure Councillor Stetsky will speak more to that. So that was a lovely event in Rotary Park. So I was pleased to attend that, as well as River Dance that night, which was pretty awesome and great crowd there. So that was fantastic. Youth ambassadors on Friday again. Yeah, amazing work, and all of the work that goes in the months in advance of that event, and the just quality time with adults who care. I think that's pretty awesome to celebrate. I was pleased to ride in the fire truck on Saturday at the parade, so that was great. And just a reminder that tomorrow evening at the college, Anchors is holding a town hall, and this is about, I think the key message is that based on the current supply of illegal substances, it is not safe, and so it is not safe to experiment for youth. And so that's going to be a key message. So that's tomorrow night at the college starting at 6:30 p.m. It's a free event, and I believe there's also childcare on site if people need childcare so they can attend.
Thank you very much. Councillor Blissett.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I must say, it was sort of fun going to the parade in the rain. Like I said to my husband, like, let's just pretend we live on the coast and this is a regular day. And, you know, we had a good time, and the parade was fun. My grandchildren got way too much candy. Oh my gosh, I had to steal some, but, or keep it in my pockets and not give it to them afterwards. But no, it was a good event. I mean, the people I felt most sorry for were the people over at Belmont Park, because, you know, people were sort of coming and going quickly and not hanging around to buy food and things like that. My dog was entered in the Wiener dog races, and it was a washout. She didn't even leave the start. She got there. We had practiced all this time ahead of time. We thought, wow, we could do this. She was so motivated. And then she got there, and there's these other dogs, and she's like, hey, this is great. I'm hanging out here. So yeah, anyways, I'm not sure if we'll continue with this in the future. But no, it's a wonderful event, and the pageant, the ambassador pageant on Friday night was very well done. And congratulations to all of the participants. It's a lot of work and very much appreciated. So yeah, it was a great event, and and speaks well to our community. So hopefully someday we will get good weather again. And sometimes it's too hot too. I was up at Moyer Park. My daughter was competing in the soccer tournament, and our fields held up well. That's for sure. I was quite impressed considering the volume of rain that we received, at least where I live. And no, it was very, very well done. So thank you.
Councilor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think everything I could say has been said. So I'll
Thank you.
pass it on.
Councilor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. So National Indigenous Peoples Day, the approach I took on behalf of mayor and council was basically to thank the Indigenous people of Canada, which really comprised of three parts, the Inuit, First Nations, and Métis, for their willingness to share their cultures with us. It enriches our lives, it enriches our communities. And, given the history that hasn't been all that positive, the fact that they are so willing to share their culture with us, I think is really quite a positive thing. And that's kind of the emphasis that I took that day, was just to thank them for their willingness to share their cultures with us. It does enrich our lives and enriches our communities for sure. Spirit of the Rockies, and of course the ambassadors. Last year, our 2024 ambassadors, Maria and Jana, were incredible. So it's great representatives of our city. And we're really fortunate to have Kara and Abiyak now as our ambassador and vice ambassador. And it'd be great to invite them formally to council here to congratulate them and welcome them to a very exciting year that they have coming ahead. Spirit of the Rockies, I played slow pitch for many, many years, and I went back and forth to our house up in Park Royal over this Saturday, and they never left the ball diamond. I was so impressed with their dedication to playing ball in that downpour all day. So they absolutely want to congratulate them on sticking with it, because it would not have been a lot of fun to be standing out there for the weekend. So good on. I think the tournament went really well. We can hear the cheering from our house. There was a lot of cheering on Sunday, so I'm sure it finished well. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge certainly the organizers and all the participants for the Spirit of the Rockies. Unfortunately, the rain, did play a role, and then there's probably a couple of them that weren't that successful. It's really unfortunate the amount of work that went into it. Weather will do that. I just want to comment on the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness Safety and Wellbeing. We had our year-end meeting last week. They shut down for summer typically. This group that we're working with right now, we looked at should we start up again or just kind of put another report forward. This is where we're at, and that was the intent of the task force at the start, just to get to where we could present a report and here's the issues, here's what's going on. Well, we're really, really fortunate here because the group that we have, last year they decided to carry on, but enhance their role to carrying out some of the recommendations in the report that we could handle locally. And I can almost assure you, after being down at the FGM, and homelessness was a real big topic down there, and listen to the discussions and the successes. They celebrate even small successes. I was really impressed. So, a couple of, sessions that I took in, they were telling their story. Well, I can assure you, and this isn't on the Mayor's Task Force, this is on the agencies and the nonprofits and the people that are involved locally. Cranbrook has quite a story to tell. I truly believe that coming from there, Mark and I attended a couple things, and we walked on and said, you know what? We're ahead of the game than probably the majority of communities in Canada. So it was quite interesting where we said, okay, should we shut things down, do a final report at our last meeting? And it's the group's decisions. It's a consensus thing, and it's whatever the group wants to do. The group said, we have a youth situation in Cranbrook that's getting worse. So we got a youth problem. And part of this thing on Tuesdays with drugs and youth, we're seeing more and more young people in Cranbrook, dying or certainly requiring care because of drugs. It's a serious concern. I didn't think it was bad as it was, but this people in this group, they work firsthand with them. It's serious. There's some serious problems in town. So where do we go next year? Do you want to shut the group down? They decided, no, why don't we expand the group and make provision for youth to start taking serious look at youth issues in the community and bring some of the agencies into the group. After all, it isn't just on homeless. It's safety, community safety and well-being, the well-being for these young people. So that's what they decided. I was really impressed. They come up and so we've got a really good idea of who will be invited next year to add to the group. And there will be a couple that are currently in the group that are probably going to step aside. They'll continue to work, but they don't want to be on that decision-making level. They figure that they've offered enough input. So I was really impressed where that's going. So that's kind of where it's going next year. Yes, Councillor Brissette.
So is school district number 5 on the committee?
They have put school district number 5 to be approached and asked to participate.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, because just in walking around town, which I do regularly, you can see the path to homelessness starting at the skateboard park at 10 o'clock in the morning. When you have youth quite a few youth hanging out during school hours instead of being in school. So that's a direct link to what you're talking about. So I do think there's a role for the school district in this, and I'm not saying I have the answer, but they need to be involved. It's their clientele that are on the street already in the day. So
Totally agree. Yeah, there was I think another 4 or 5 agencies or I would say maybe professionals that names did come up. So we'll be working on that. Marcel will be working on that through the summer. So yeah, and you're absolutely right. There was concern about the drug situation, but it's pretty evident that there's a pattern out there that these young people that are, they're pretty much couch surfing already at 14 and 15 years old. Well, they're going to be homeless and it's as teenagers. So, it's time for the community to get involved as much as we can. So anyways, yeah, that, the youth ambassador, anybody that certainly was there at the showcase on Friday night, my God, it was unreal. I've been to several of them now, and that one, well, they all do. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. We're in good hands going forward. If that's representative youth that's coming, and they're going to be community leaders, and you can bet that these young women are going to be community leaders. You can certainly see it. We're in really good hands. Congratulations to Karika Kakuno as being crowned the ambassador, and Avia Pelche as vice ambassador. I will say that although they won the competition, there were no losers. And, I can't emphasize that enough. There were no losers. Talking to the people behind the scenes that were involved in judging everything, any one of those 8 young ladies could have been one too, and served Cranbrook and served their organization very proudly. Unbelievable. So anyways, yeah. That's all I have. And I think we're going to go into closed here. Can I get a motion to go into closed, please? Councillor Brissette, Councillor Peabody. All in favor? Carried.